watching Double Doinkers Fantasy Football Podcast with Nick Meyer and Willie J. So this week we bring to you a mock draft, as you may see on your screen, or if you're listening, we'll bring you along as best we can. So, Willie, how's it going? How you doing?
It's going good. I'm really excited. My main league is drafting this week, and I got friends flying in from California, coming up from Eugene. I'm super stoked.
That's sick.
And also on a whim this past weekend, I actually have been looking at SeatGeek tickets and different sites for cheap-ish Bears and Seahawks tickets, and I on a whim bought tickets for me and my mom. So I'm going to see the Bears in Seattle on Monday Night Football in November, and I'm really stoked.
That is so cool, man. I love that.
Never been to an NFL game. My last Chicago sports game though was in 2016, the season that the Cubs won the World Series. So
that's you'll have a lot of fun, man. The live NFL experience is just like, so you're seeing the same things you see on the TV, right? Like the TV is pretty good, but what you don't get from that is the energy of a live NFL stadium. What that really brings can't really be replicated almost anywhere. It's just, you're like, maybe I won't do the wave. Maybe I won't just jump up and start screaming like an idiot, but you do, because that's what it requires,
Yeah, and just energy, and like on a primetime game, I'm really, really stoked.
Heck yeah. I love that. And I think calling it now, Bears 30, Seahawks 27.
It's anything will be better than the 6-3 game 2 years ago in Chicago. That was probably like maybe the worst regular season game of this decade. That is up there with the Jets Broncos last season.
I'm trying to. Yeah, you know what? It's funny because anytime you have the Broncos involved and they win, it's a bad game for me. So Willie, normally we would talk about news. Normally we would go into something else here, right? But instead, I'm gonna go ahead and say we've got a bunch of people who are in this mock draft with us that are just kind of waiting around. So we're gonna just rip through this thing. Catch us next week. We'll have a ton of news. We'll be talking more in depth about players. I'll introduce the episode at the end of this episode because I'm watching this chat and it's got my mind in all sorts of places. So as a host, as I'm going through this, if you see me spacing out a little bit, that's because I want to draft a good team. I desperately do, but also I'm going to try to walk everyone and talk everyone through this. So,
and then Nick and I are picking. So it's 12 team, full PPR, and I'm picking pick 6. Nick is picking 6-10. We kind of are going this way because it's debatable, but I think those are two of the worst picks you can have this year, just on how the board's playing out. So I wanted to strategize and pick like a really bad pick right in the middle of the draft to kind of challenge myself and find some diamonds in the rough.
That's the pick I have in my league record. I can't choose that one because otherwise I'd be giving away way too much. But if I was pick 10, this is what I'd do. So take that for what you will.
What's our format here? Do we got?
We got 12 team PPR. There's 2 flex, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver. And then there are no defense, no kickers. It doesn't matter. I have the 5 bench spots, so we'll go through 13 rounds, but it will probably, maybe cut the podcast before that. We'll see. We'll just see what happens. But it is PPR specifically. And that's the whole thing, I guess. There's not really a lot more to talk about because this is a mock draft. So we've got people who are from all different walks in here just helping us out and doing their thing. So I'm going to hit start draft. If anyone's watching this, which I know there is at least 1 or 2 maybe, then we can go ahead and get ready, get prepared. So we're going to do this thing. This action cannot be undone, dude. Sleeper's very serious about it. There it is. Boom. 1 minute picks. 1 minute picks. So we are on that here. DDC 2017 is on the board. So we're starting off with DDC 2017. He was not in the draft before he heard the noise and it went. And we start off with Bijan, gone, off the board. Next up, we got MB. Puka. And Willie, I think you muted yourself. Jahmyr Gibbs, we got him gone.
Willie's back.
Christian McCaffrey went number 4. That does make sense. I do track. Okay, and then we got Trent up at 5. So far we got Bijan, Puka, Jahmyr Gibbs, and McCaffrey. So Puka goes early.
I mean, I know we're kind of on different ends about Puka, but like if you are going for pure upside and you really want receiver first, I think that's not a bad pick at the 102. Gibbs at the 103 is nice.
Yeah. McCaffrey at 104 is interesting because I think McCaffrey at 104 is that bet of someone who isn't worried about injuries whatsoever. They say this is a player who I've seen do it over and over again.
Whoa, I'm gonna have to mute that.
we had JSN.
JSN 105.
It's Jamar Chase is hanging out. Amon-Ra St. Brown is hanging out. We've got Puka and JSN as the first two wide receivers off the board.
I got to go back to where I was. I lost 1 sec here.
No, Willie.
This is every drafter's worst nightmare. I've had dreams like this. Okay. I'm not used to Sleeper on desktop, so I'm going to pull up my phone here and hop in. So far, I like how the board's fallen, though.
Sleeper on phone is actually legitimately better than Sleeper on desktop. Sleeper on desktop feels like they're kind of just shoestringing it together for old geezers like me.
Yeah, it looks clean, though. So I'm going Jamar Chase. I mean, if he's there even at the 104, I'm smashing him. I like to go running back first, but the way that this board fell, like, I mean, I'm quite happy with that pick.
Are we still doing phrasing? Because you said you're. That's all I'll say, I suppose. But yeah, okay. So then next up we got J17 Dubs. There's a lot to like here. So I'm looking at 1-7. I have like. Here's the thing: is at this point, Amon-Ra stands pretty much head and shoulders above the rest as far as what consensus would do for me. And there it goes.
And he's a follower. He's not a leader. He's a follower. He heard you and he smashed St. Brown.
And then we got Taylor going.
James Cook.
I respect that. So like, here's what I would say right now. At 110, I'm looking at Ashton Genty sitting there. And if I knew that his ankle was going to be okay, this is who I would absolutely take 100% of the time. I don't know that his ankle is going to be okay. The reporting coming out where it's like a high ankle sprain or it's more low than high, sounds like there's some high ankle sprain mixed in there. So I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb. You've heard me talk about him. Justin Jefferson. You've heard me talk about him. Those are the next two up on the board. And I have Justin Jefferson ranked as my number 2 wide receiver. So you know who I'm taking, Justin Jefferson. Come on down.
I like the running backs after, like getting Jefferson. I like Jefferson more than the receivers. And since you pick only 5 picks after, I think it makes sense to kind of go for the upside receiver there. I like Barkley. I think Barkley's my RB3 this year. I'm all in on him.
Then Omari and Hampton, great. Totally can't hate that pick at all. Chase Brown, I'm a little upset because I would have loved to get some Chase Brown right here.
Hampton Brown, I mean, just the upside with, I know the Bengals and Chargers O-lines aren't always great, but the amount that they both can function as pass catchers and, be not the bell cow on their teams, at least I believe. I think that's a great 1-2 punch.
The number 12 pick, I know he's a listener every week too, so I know he's heard what we've said a lot. These guys. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb goes. So you got Saquon and CeeDee Lamb, the best team of 2021, just happened right now. And you know what? Okay, so we come back around. Justin Jefferson's there. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm making the gamble. I'm taking Ashton Genty. I'm gonna say, you know what? Give me that ankle. If it's good, then we're gonna steamroll someone. And if it's bad, then
In terms of the remaining running backs, there's really no one else I would target there. I mean, you can make an argument for other guys with risks like Achane or like Kenneth Walker, exactly. But I think that they all kind of have their own risk banked in, and I think that Genty, I don't know, there's still very little news that is coming out of camp, but it does seem like Genty has maybe negatively solidified himself as no longer a first-round pick in fantasy drafts. I think just because of if you're drafting like this week without any more news coming out, it seems to be the case.
There's a lot of confusion up in the air about what the actual injury is still at this point. So it sounded like an ACL to start off with. Oh, you got AJ Brown. He's gone before Drake London, before George Pickens, before Nico Collins. I mean, I think that's probably consensus how it falls, but I'd probably take most of those receivers before AJ Brown. I don't know. I got bad vibes from AJ still.
The Kayshon Boutte to the Houston trade doesn't move the needle much for me. If anything, it makes me maybe a little more interested in Romeo Doubs.
Dang. Okay, so our first quarterback went off the board. Round 2, it's Josh Allen. That is early for Josh Allen, but this is what you need to do if you want Josh Allen in your home leagues. I can almost guarantee it.
He's not going past the early 3rd round, so If you are a Joshy boy, like I know, uh, Josh Allen 17 dubs is.
That
Don't
makes a
have the
lot of
time to get
sense.
him.
He's gonna take Romeo dubs later too, right? This is how this works.
So here's the thing for me. So like especially when I'm picking in the middle, I like to strategize and alternate between, a really safe pick and a riskier pick. It's not always true, but at least when I'm picking in the middle rounds, I'm swinging there. Jamar Chase is a very safe pick, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
do want to go running back here. I really hate the idea of taking Devon Achane, um, just because of the Dolphins potentially being terrible. But I don't have the best track record. I'm just going to take it. Taking Devon Achane. Don't have the best track record for predicting what the worst offense is going to be because I was really low on the Colts last year, and that turned out to not be true. So I'm just saying there's a world where the Dolphins could have maybe a better offense than we think, and banking on Achane returning, not even returning to form, but just continuing what he's done isn't a terrible move.
And since your HM pick here, we had Trey McBride, the first tight end off the board, go to Trent. Then Derrick Henry went to Ashley, and that's Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey paired together. Jameer Gibbs owner got Rashee Rice.
All right,
So Rashee
that's
Rice going a little earlier than you would have guessed, but I suppose there's an argument to be made there about consistency and upside.
I mean, it's also the argument there with I think Gibbs is such a safe pick and Rasheed is that riskier upside pick. I love the Puka Bowers smash. That's just
Because he's gonna. So this is at the 1-2, right? So the second pick. If he went Puka to start with, right, which felt a little bit like a pull, but then you look at Puka and Brock Bowers, and I'm like that feels like two potential number ones, right? Like I've been out on Puka a little bit, but when I look at those names next to each other,
like
I
those. It's hard to hard. I mean,
yeah.
they're gonna have to hit on the running backs in order
Mm-hmm.
to make it, but it's a pretty exciting start at least. We
Let's
got
see.
Bijan here. I
Yeah.
mean, there's still some good running backs on the board. There's still some good receivers. I really don't think you can go wrong here with the 101 because you're picking back to back.
It's interesting to me because I think looking at this list, you can kind of see a lot of people are banking on Dak Prescott. Okay, so we got
Cowboys, baby.
this is your home leagues. Okay, so this is the point we're trying to make. These are not pro leagues we're drafting for here. Home leagues are the ones where things happen that you go, really? That's crazy. But they do happen that way.
It can even happen in your even if you're gonna still have leagues where everyone's really into fantasy and knows everything, and they're still gonna make picks like taking Dak in the second it happens.
And this is me saying I will be unflappable. Don't worry. uh I what I'm seeing here with a lot of these teams is that you can see who has the want for history and safe built into
Mhm.
their team already. So like if I'm looking at this board and I'm looking at who took what, I think you can make okay guesses after the first two rounds on what a person is looking for their team and kind of, game plan around it.
Mhm.
Some people want that upside and some people want the safety. They want the knowing that someone who's been there, done it before and isn't going to bust on them, right? Phrasing once again, sorry. I did it to myself that time. Uh so you're looking at Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry owner. You're looking at for, I don't know, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor, AJ Brown. These are people I think that are pretty safe.
The
And
CMC Derek that makes me nostalgic for COVID. I feel like if you had your fantasy
yeah,
team during
yeah,
COVID and you had Derrick Henry and CMC.
you're loving life. There's no problems unless it was one of the CMC injury years.
Yeah, it's a coin flip.
All right, so early round three, we've got a bit of a wide receiver run going. So we have Nico Collins, George Pickens, Devonta Smith. I have a hard time arguing with any of those picks. I think they're all good. Drake London is still on the board. So London's slipping a little bit, and then you've got Malik Neighbors, Chris Olave hanging out around there. Drake London did go right after I said that.
London slipped quite a bit. I'm a little shocked by that.
Yeah,
People are saying I don't think Tua is starting this year, and if Penix starts, Drake London was quite productive with Penix on the field. He almost feels a little QB proof to me too. So this pick, this is this is tough for me
yeah.
because there's a receiver I really want to take, but he's a bit risky. And there's a running back I also want to take, but it's a little bit of a reach because the top two running backs for ADP are not super appealing to me right now. So I am going to go for the upside pick. I feel like the Jamar Chase pick is great pick, very safe, and I'm going to take a great pick, maybe a little bit risky. And I'm going to go for my guy here. I'm going to go with Vlad McConkey.
Oh, dang. That's not who I guessed either. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
really?
Yeah.
Did you think I was going to take Malik Neighbors?
I did think you were going to take Malik Neighbors, especially when you said upside. Can I guess what running back was it? Was it Achan? Travis?
Yes, it was Travis. That was the guy I was looking at.
Okay. I was going to say, if you got both Achan and Achan, that would at least be a pretty good meme. You might still be able to do that. We'll see. Although now, if someone's listening who heard that, they probably will stop it. They're vindictive people. I tell you what.
I was looking pretty heavily in Malik Neighbors. I think that he is even riskier than Ladd. I think that my idea of the Ladd upside is that like it was a bit of a reach on Ladd, but I'm not going to spoil next week's episode. I'll say that. But we are doing Doinkers next week, and he may have a mention there.
There is some very vague weirdness with Malik Neighbors going on right now too, where he left practice early and it wasn't injury related, but Harbaugh is apparently also confused about why he left practice earlier, and you don't really love that with a new coach who seems to be, I don't want to say a disciplinarian, but he's just more old school. And Malik Neighbors went to a Travis Scott injury or concert right after he got a concussion injury, and I'm sorry, Travis Scott injury is
not that concert,
not that one.
But wait, did he get a concussion at the Travis Scott concert?
No, he got it right before, but he missed a bunch of time for it. And yeah,
he was at the concert while he was in concussion protocol.
Yeah, so this is the pick. I really don't love this pick. This is the pick where it feels like all of a sudden I am hating everybody who I see. Like Josh Jacobs, I don't want that. Lamar Jackson, we've talked about that. Breece Hall, not really. Like I can understand it, but it's not who I want. And then we're looking at T. Higgins. Okay, he's good. I've said a lot of good things about Javonte Williams, and he still doesn't feel like the person I want to take here, but I am
going Cowboys, going Williams. I feel like you could get him. I feel like you can get him on the next round, though. You're only picking
that's the game, right? And so, who is going to get taken before the next round that I can't? And we talked about him. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm taking Travis. With the Kamara injury, which the Kamara we talked about, I'm not super worried about him, but it's when he's definitely out of the picture, it's a slam dunk for me. And then Javonte Williams goes next. So unfortunately, wasn't
double dipping on Cowboys. Double dipping. Corey's living in the NFC East. You know what? I respect it.
There's worse places to live. You could be living in the AFC South.
Yeah, well, when you're saying there's worse places to live, and one of the cities is Philly, I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit there, maybe, but.
I don't know a lot about how it's like to live in Philly, but I do know that I appreciate their spirit.
I like Colston Loveland. I like this Hampton Brown Loveland Abuka. That's fun. Those are guys that could all be, dark horses for number one at their position. I'm a little less bullish on Abuka, but Loveland, Hampton, maybe Brown. There's a lot of upside there.
All right, so there's a lot of good names on the board here. It's the same kind of set of names I was just talking about, but what I'm doing now is I'm reaching, okay? And I start reaching early. You may notice this. I have players that I want, and I don't really care about ADP after the first 2 rounds. I'm not going to go insane. Don't worry. But I am going to reach right here, and I'm willing to pull the trigger. I'm taking DJ Moore in the 4th.
All right.
I believe it. I trust the process. I've got Justin Jefferson and DJ Moore.
I mean, DJ Moore's not going to be there,
No, anyone who's listening to this will definitely take him before that. I know that. And I think that the upside's there. But definitely if you look at last year, my wide receiver core is bottomed out already. Jalen Waddle goes right after him. I think that's a respectable pick. I think the pathway is there. It's not the pathway that I choose to predict, but it is there.
You can make an argument they're in similar situations. I think that Cortland Sutton's a bigger threat to Waddle's volume than anyone on the Bills is for DJ Moore, but it's the same kind of idea. 2 teams that were almost in the Super Bowl making trades, big, significant draft capital trades for presumable wide receiver ones. There's both of their teams are in on them.
So Breece Hall does go. And again, I respect the pick, but I do wonder what goes through your head. Like when you draft Breece Hall, do you think I wanted Breece Hall, or do you think he's the best that there is right here? Like what do you think is that thought process?
It's just like I need an RB2. Breece Hall's my RB2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The Jets have always been the Jets, but I think we do forget that Brees Hall. I think he was a top 4 running back just 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's happened.
Yeah, and the saying "you could do worse." It's a real thing, especially in fantasy football. Sometimes you really do need to just say you could do worse. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Sometimes.
I absolutely hate my options right now. This is why I am just grateful I'm not picking 6 because there's always ways out. There's strategies. When I'm picking in the middle rounds, I'm more excited about where I'm going to hit in the later like picks, like sleeper picks.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the first few rounds, like the first few rounds in the middle is just it can lead to situations like this where I do not like anyone on my board right now. I really want to hit a running back, but I do not like the top 3 options. Oh man, I'm gonna go against one of my given philosophies that I believe in, and I'm gonna go wide receiver heavy. I'm going with the year 2 upside of McMillan.
Okay. Okay.
You know, Bryce Young, he might not be great this year, but if you're drafting McMillan at his floor, just assuming he did what he did last year, he broke, over 1,000 yards, and he's been apparently rumors out of training camp, and we've seen this in a few preseason games. He's been playing more out of the slot, which is a great volume opportunity for him. And I just feel like the Panthers aren't going to take a huge leap this year. He's going to be their offense. He's going to be the focal point. And I think that from a PPR perspective, the volume is there for McMillan. I don't love my team, but I like my receivers.
That's fair. It can be hard. I mean, there's a lot of running back heavy teams already, so almost all teams have two. There's a few teams that have one. There is also two teams that don't have a running back yet, but there's a few teams that have three. So there you can see the scarcity being created. I think there's still a lot of options left at running back still. I wouldn't be worried if I was one of the teams that didn't have any. I actually might really like my options coming up if I didn't have any running backs.
I mean, and I love this team. I mean, this team, the MB 69, 67, does not have any running backs, but I love all 3 of their players. Like
Yeah.
Puka, Nico, Bowers, and then David
That's
Montgomery.
solid. Yeah. Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. And see, so I saw we have the running back run going again. No pun intended. We Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, and David Montgomery. Out of those three, I think I actually like David Montgomery's opportunity the best this year. I
Yeah.
know things have been said about how the Houston run game was last year. They've addressed O line issues to some extent, and David Montgomery is just a lot better than now retired Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and I like Montgomery over Irving and Jacobs. I think Bucky could be quite good, but I'm still bullish on Kenneth Gainwell's role here. And I feel like a Josh Jacobs suspension could very well happen. I don't like the Packers in general. I don't like their upside this year either.
So okay, so we had Garrett Wilson and Mike Evans go both to DDC 2017. Garrett Wilson makes sense to me. I think I was in on that at that pick at the end of the fourth. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
there for it. Mike Evans, he's been scaring me a lot lately with his injury already issues in camp. With the 49ers, you can't ignore those injury issues, especially for someone his age who has missed significant time 2 seasons in a row from injuries.
it's hard. Yeah, if he's your wide
Look
receiver
at
too.
that. MB as DeAndre Swift. Look at that team. That is a good. Okay.
I like this team. That might be my favorite team so far.
Yeah, that's nasty. In a good way for them. Drake May goes. Devonte Adams. Drake May. I don't really love the value there, but if you're looking for a quarterback, I get it.
Yeah, he's gonna get you some points. Got Quinchon going. All right, I was kind of let's see. All right,
Yeah.
I do have to take a running back. I've kind of pigeonholed myself here.
So okay, you're looking. I mean, you have some options. You could. I assume it's not gonna be Travion, although maybe I assume wrong. Tootin's here.
I am liking Tootin. This is my RB2, and Jadarian Price. I like him this year, but for my RB2, that's just too risky.
Mm-hmm.
God, I hate these options. I really do. In my heart of hearts, I want to go for another receiver. I could consider a tight end, but I don't have enough faith.
Willie, live your life. Willie, live your life.
Don't have enough faith in the Colts offense to just smash on Tyler Warren here. So I am going to go with. All right, I have faith in the Jaguars this year. Even if Tootin isn't the bell cow, I think that his goal line upside is there. I don't like him as my RB2, but like I said, I love my receivers, so I'm building something here.
See, I'm a sicko. I'm like, okay, Rico Dowdle, that's a pretty good RB2.
If I'd gotten like a Bowers or a McBride and my receivers, then I'd like him as my RB2, but it's just not quite
Well,
there.
okay. I mean, with if in a PPR league, I don't mind going really wide receiver heavy, anyways, because wide receivers can cover the gap between an okay RB2 and a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see a lot of these folks. There's going to be a bunch of busts in these rounds, right? Well, half of these people's RB2s aren't going to be playing by week 6. That's just the truth of it.
Yeah, there's a big strategy of just targeting running back sleepers and really building depth. Like having like a great RB1 and an RB2 is awesome, but like sometimes with the injuries being so consistent for the RB position, I think that having depth is really like the way you can kind of mitigate those risks of not drafting the top running backs in the first couple rounds.
So here I am. I'm looking at what's on the board. I don't really have an agenda on what position I need at this point. Zay Flowers has dropped quite a bit, and yet I really just don't want him on my team. Luther Burden's there. He's scary right now, but he's got upside. Jameson Williams, who is the perennial, could be a great player. Carnell Tate for the upside, or Christian Watson, right? And then I can't don't let me reach two rounds in a row. Then I'm just playing my own game.
I mean, I'd probably go running back. I would say Tyler Warren would be a good pick, but now he's gone.
Yeah, well, let's let's swing for the upside. I am going to take Luther Burden. We're just going to see what happens here because Odunze went 2 picks before him. Odunze, not Odunze. And I mean, take a guess. It could be a little bit of both. 1A, 1B, right? So, and Jersey Boy, I think probably is mad, judging by the reaction here.
By the makeup of his team, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm liking his team so far. I feel like he could crumble in the 5th round, like he often does. So we'll see here. And he did. He did. Thank you, Corey.
I know how you feel about Joe Burrow, but hey, you know what? If you wanted Joe Burrow, this is a good time because the 12th pick, I know him very well. He's been in my leagues for about maybe 20 years at this point. It might be like 16, 18, something like that. It's been a long time. And he loves Joe Burrow. He really does.
Yeah, I'm excited for Joe Burrow to get his rushing upside of 80 yards this year. It's going to be great. I am liking Gamtubu pick 12's team a lot.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes with this because
really can't go wrong. I mean, you're picking back to back, and you have a really good team so far. I like the upside of Carnell Tate. Yep.
This is the youth squad right now. All year 2, right? So Omari and Hampton, Cortland Loveland, Egbuka, Carnell Tate's a rookie. So Chase Brown is the oldie here.
That's crazy.
His average age is probably like 28, 24.
Like 22, 23 maybe.
Let's see if he goes for second, though. He still has options.
I mean, I feel like I mean, really, because you've drafted pretty, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end. Brian Thomas.
That's I can vaguely understand. See, so Tucker Kraft going there does hurt because Tucker Kraft is the one tight end that's still on the board that I think I would like splash for.
Yeah.
So Tucker Kraft going there, what that solidified for me is that I'd no longer need to attempt to get a tight end for a while.
Yeah, there's the drop off there. I like Sam Laporta, but there's been rumors, not rumors. He's been dealing with some quad strains, and just coming off his back injury last year. It's I don't predict injuries, but he's a player that like I'm a little more concerned about. Tucker Kraft is also coming off a torn ACL, of course, but I think Laporta's been sitting out practice the past week. So
I have a pick here that I think makes the most sense for my team, and I'm just going to go with it. I'm slamming Jalen Hurts. We've talked about Hurts. That's probably the quarterback I'd want the most out of this field of quarterbacks that's left. I don't love going this early quarterback, but if I'm going to do it, Jalen Hurts feels like the right guy to do it for.
I'd love to get another running back depth piece to compete to be my RB2, but if the board's not falling that way, and there's no receiver that I really, really like, which I don't think there is going to be, I think this is where I'm going to target my quarterback or tight end here. I like Zay Flowers at that value.
Yeah, it's hard value to ignore at this point. He will be the wide receiver 1 in Baltimore, and if Baltimore is more pass heavy this year, then there should be more volume. we've said enough things about Zay Flowers. I'm not concerned that he's that guy, but if he is, if I'm wrong, and there's all the chance in the world that I am, it's great value, and he's worth it even if it was like a flex pick at this point. Like he would
Oh
be
yeah,
providing value as that flex on that team,
yeah,
regardless.
yeah. I would like him as my flex this year.
So Jalen Warren, that's your guess between Jalen Warren and Rico Dowdle. Choose your poison and hope you got the best one. I'm not really super convinced that either of them are the correct answer, but usually in murky situations, someone does arise. So if you think that's Jalen Warren, I don't blame you for jumping in here because the running back, it's pretty nasty right now. I think it actually gets better later. I might be making that up a little bit, but I do think like there's this weird the dead zone is real this year. Like it feels kind of awful
We're
and then it feels okay later. Kyle
oh boy.
Pitts.
Yeah, we're definitely in the running back dead zone right here. There's no one that's like standing out to me that I would want to take as my RB3 and think like, okay, you know, he could be my RB2, if Tootin doesn't work out. So I'm gonna pivot away from the running back position. There are some receivers that I would consider here.
So Nick's Will Wins has posted Pitts got me 55 points in one game last year. You remember? And so I'll tell you my little story about that. So last year I had a opponent that I looked like I was going to smoke, and it was going really great. But he had started Kyle Pitts after just a terrible season from Kyle Pitts, and he beat me by about 15 points. And Kyle Pitts did indeed drop 55 points.
He did indeed. And
So there it is. Sam Laporta. What you got about Laporta? What you think with Laporta?
there was quite a few receivers that I liked, but I saw enough that I'm comfortable taking them if they're back at my next pick. And I really did not like the running backs available. I mean, there's running backs that I like, but I'm looking like from the next RB available to like the eighth RB available. I kind of view them about the same. So I think just waiting to take a running back next round would suffice me well. Sam Laporta is risky, but there still is that world with Drew Petzing coming over from Arizona as the new OC that Laporta could have a McBride light type year. And I'm in on the Lions this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think after Laporta, there's just a very clear fall off in tight end for me. And there was just no other pick that I liked running back wise or receiver wise that I needed to take in the 6th round.
The 6th round has had a lot of tight ends go. So between Laporta, we had Jamison Williams and Terry McLaurin go. I think I like the value for both those guys. Jamison Williams is like the perennial what if, but really what if he could do amazing if it works out. Terry McLaurin.
I like the makeup of the team. I don't like Trent Thomas's only having Quinn Judkins as the starting running back. That's pretty scary.
It feels pretty good, right? Then Harold Fannin is another tight end that goes here, and Harold Fannin, I do get it. I am very concerned about Deshaun Watson being named the starter on this Browns team. I don't think that it should be understated how bad Deshaun Watson has looked, and I think right now they are kind of like tempting Deshaun Watson to retire.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're hoping for, and with Fannin's upside, like he was great last year, and I think even with the rookie top 40 receiver picks coming in Denzel Boston and Concepcion, I think there is a path still there for Fannin to get a lot of volume and continue his breakout. But his games last year where he was great all came from Shedeur Sanders. So I think if you take Fannin in fantasy, you really have to hope that Deshaun Watson like gets benched or dies or something in order to really like Fannin. And either of those would be great options from a real life perspective.
So George Kittle goes. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tight ends go.
Yeah, this is where if you haven't taken a tight end, I would start punting tight end until the Juwan Johnsons and the Hunter Henrys of the world.
I would also recommend that same thing for QB because the teams that are going to be aggressive on QB already went aggressive on QB.
Yeah.
So, okay. What are we looking at here? So, Travion Henderson is sliding. Jaden Daniels is sliding. Caleb Williams, I wouldn't call it sliding yet, but is on the precipice of sliding. Next up on the board are Marvin Harrison and Parker Washington. So,
Well,
what do you feel about Parker Washington?
I do not like Parker Washington this year. I feel like the fantasy community has a collective um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hallucination that he's this incredible receiver, and he did have a great December last year. I think that the whole Jaguars receiving core is so 1A, 1B, 1C. Like I think Washington, Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington are all going to have great games, and they could all do quite well. But I'm not sold on Parker Washington being this amazing breakout guy because he had a great end of season. I'm not sold.
Yeah. I had Parker Washington. I enjoyed him very much at the end of last season, but it felt more like everyone was kind of out or still learning because Jacoby Myers was spoken that he didn't produce as well as Parker Washington did. Well, Jacoby
Yeah,
Myers also arrived late. He didn't have the same opportunities to learn the system and also gain that trust of Trevor Lawrence. So Parker Washington was there the whole time. He was just stuck on the depth chart. The wide receiver roles right now are a little strange.
yeah, and there's also Brenton Strange there too, who I think is also going to get a lot of targets. I don't hate Parker Washington as my flex, but I think if I have a Jags receiver, I would prefer any of them to be my flex play, not my wide receiver too.
So let's see. So you're up right now.
Oh, I am. How about
Yes. You got 20 seconds left. So you've got a choice to make. And I see Caleb Williams staring at you there. That might be a pretty quick tilt choice, or you could just own it and love it and run with it.
Yeah, I think I am gonna. The running backs, they're still so close for me, and this is not even a homer pick, but like Caleb Williams, I think has the most upside for a quarterback that still remains on the board. Like there's quarterbacks that can go in like 4 or 5 rounds that I like, but I think he's one of the last true dark horse QB1 overall guys, and I hate continuing to punt the running back position, but the next 10 picks are still pretty close for me.
You'll get your choice between Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson
Yeah.
even next round, I think. And
Yeah.
there are still some running backs on the board that I see that I think right now you could probably get a little bit better value for.
Yeah, I am probably going to start spamming running back after this, though. I did briefly consider Justin Herbert just to have the Herbert McConkey stack.
Yeah, and I think that depends on how you feel about stacks because there could be something there for it. How do you feel about stacks? How do you feel about stacks?
I think it's really not even player to player position, but it really is like team dependent in a lot of ways. And I like stacks on teams that obviously you want a quarterback and a wide receiver that are going to score a lot of points, but I want to draft stacks on teams that get a lot of points. So like even by that logic, like I would like a Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley stack because even if Barkley's not getting the receiving touchdowns, like one of them is going to get a touchdown every single week because that offense is scoring a lot of points. So that's kind of my philosophy there is like really good offenses. I like stacks, but it's not like it's really just team dependent. I think.
I agree. I think you have to have a team that you really don't think are going to have a lot of bad weeks at all because the stack falls apart so easily, and if it does, that really hamstrings your team. Okay, so real quick, I want to follow up. So we were talking about Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. They went back to back. Henderson did go first still, and then Stevenson right after that. And then the pick that I really wanted to make was Jonathan Brooks. So I got sniped pretty hard by Nacho there. Now, that's okay because there's still other options here that I think I'm just fine with. However, Jonathan Brooks was the sneaky one that I think was sitting down there and like, this looks like it could work out really well.
Yeah, I considered him as well.
Looking at like team makeup is kind of important here, and I'm thinking you'd want an extra running back usually in my position. However, so if I'm looking at running backs, my next one would be Tony Pollard because I think he has that opportunity to take the RB1, and if the Tennessee Titans are a little bit better, he's going to provide something here for you. However, I'm going to once again shoot for some upside, and I'm taking Chris Godwin because I think if he has the season that he's capable of, he might usurp one of my starters that I'm a little less sure of in my wide receiver slot.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, Godwin could just really be the guy, especially if Ibuka is still, injured with turf toe, which he's dealing with right now, or a toe sprain. And I think that, like, I love the upside of Burden, but Godwin with Mike Evans gone, he is like the probably like longest tenured, at least offensive Buccaneer on that team, and I think that could really say something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, little do we forget, like, just I mean, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, he was one of the best fantasy receivers, and then just like 2 years ago, he had an incredible season as well. So he still has that potential.
Yeah, agreed. And I think you can't like underestimate Baker and how much him having his guys that are still there will mean.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think necessarily that Baker is he doesn't choose specific players to target, but I do think it makes it a lot easier if you've been working with someone for this long, because the coach is the same. That running game, I'm not inspired by it. I'm not convinced it'll work very well. So I think that passing game is going to have to do a lot. And that defense has been atrocious. They're working on it, but I don't think you go from atrocious to good that fast. You go from atrocious to still kind of bad, but a little better, and then that's still good for fantasy.
yeah. You can't really go to like great with your defensive. Todd Bowles is still your coach.
Hey, but you know what? So we'll check it out. It came back around, and the less exciting name, Tony Pollard, hung around. So we'll go ahead and we'll take Tony Pollard here.
He's a solid flex RB. I mean, I was really high on him last year, and the Titans were a disaster. But I think, like you said, if the Titans just get marginally better this year, I have a lot more faith in Tony Pollard over Tajay Spears. And it's not like they brought anyone significant via the draft or free agency. And I believe they got one of the Penn State guys late, but there's really no big competition to Pollard this year.
So, and that's the thing for me is like when I'm drafting a running back at this position, I either want one upside or two guaranteed touches, and I think Tony Pollard just has the guaranteed touches. I don't really. His backups have had their opportunity and they never really took it. To like Tajay Spears, it would be a shock if he came out and he just won the job at this point.
Yeah, I think we would have heard more out of training camp if that was the case too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Tony Pollard, he didn't do great last year, but I just really, as much as you can, you want to throw away what the Titans did last year. I know they do, and it's really hard to just say, well, they sucked historically bad.
I like that you do have three bell cow backs, or at least potential bell cow backs with Genty, Achan, and Pollard. I mean, those are the more or less like as close as you can get to a solidified RB1 and not a committee in the NFL this season. I mean, of course, we don't know Genty, the injury that could, but like at least on paper, there's that potential to all of them being the bell cow.
I am a little skittish on having DJ Moore and Chris Godwin in my wide receiver core both because they're both older wide receivers at this point. So, but right now we're going for production. We'll swing on some crazy picks later on. That's what I'm looking at. I've gone pretty safe at this point.
All right, so I do have to start spamming running back here.
There's no choice. You've been forced.
I'm
Get your favorite player. Do it. Come on.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with my gut a little bit here actually, and I'm gonna there's three, four really, RB 1Bs here, and I'm gonna go with the RB 1B that I think is on the best offense, and it's a guy that's been rising up my boards. I like. I'm gonna go with Blake Corum, and my logic there is that like I think Rico Dowdle, Kyle Monungai, Kenneth Gainwell could all be very solid 1Bs as well on their team. I'm a little hesitant on Monungai because of the hyperextended knee and what that looks like the start of the season. And I think that this could be the year that Blake Corum really does become that 50-50 split with Kyron. And I think of all those running backs, the Rams have the best offense. And with their incredible defense, the run game is going to be a big factor. So I actually feel comfortable with Blake Corum as my RB3 this year.
And you've got Trent, who's also needing to spam RBs at this point. And so he's got RJ Harvey and Chuba Hubbard, where you've got Blake Corum and Caleb Williams in that time frame. I think Blake Corum just has this lottery ticket appeal to him, where it's like if it works out really, really well, then you're going to have something that can help you. He could be the league winner potentially.
100%. Yeah. And it would just take a Kyron Williams injury. And even if that doesn't happen, I think that Corum just getting, 10, 15% more touches than he did last year is enough to get really excited about getting him as your RB3, I think.
So we are in round 8, and we have all of the major Jacksonville receivers off the board. Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, and Brian Thomas are all off the board. And shockingly, in this league, Brian Thomas was the first to go. I think that's typically Parker Washington at this point. So
It's yeah, it's been close. I don't like Thomas as my wide receiver 3, but I think he's the most upside. However, Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers as my wide receiver 4, that logic I can get behind.
yeah, yeah. So okay. So at this point, we're thinning out talent wise near the bottom. I do like Monongai. Jackson Dart's still there for someone who doesn't have a quarterback. I don't know if anyone in this league still does not. M Spinner still does not. Travis Kelsey's hanging around, but we know how we feel about that. Jordan Tyson is at the top of the board, and unfortunately, Jordan Tyson, we don't know exactly how long he'll be out, except for it'll be a while. This feels like it's too early for Jordan Tyson for me. Are we starting a tight end run right now? Is that what's happening, league? We went Jake Ferguson to Travis Kelsey?
That's a tight end run if I ever heard one.
They don't run very fast, though.
No, especially if you're Travis Kelsey.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a idea here that if you get Travis Kelsey and he does manage to return to form, and you've got Brock Bowers, you do have a tight end positional advantage. Now that could matter in certain leagues, but I'm not convinced that Travis Kelsey is going to score more than the players we see on the board. Like I think, but it's hard because right now we're in that spot where I can get the call you're making here. You're making a call on historical talent, you know. Travis Kelsey's been that guy, and I slow down and I stop because I really don't like saying that about Travis Kelsey. It kind of hurts me a little bit, but it's the truth.
He is that path. We don't know. It's hard. I do see the logic.
Mahomes than Jackson Dart.
Imagine combining them into one quarterback.
Oh man, they would either be broke, but it depends on what happens. Like if you combine Jackson Dart's head and Mahomes' legs, you got a real problem.
It's true. Kai Lemon, okay. I like the Kai Lemon here. He's not my favorite pick this year, but like I think he's your wide receiver 4. I still would be spamming running back if I were Trent Thomas though. But speaking of, do I want to start spamming some running back? I am looking at Kyle Monongai.
Monongai is still there. You do have this Ja'Cory Krosky, which has been rumored to be the RB1 in Washington. Jordan Mason. I can't even pretend. Aaron Jones, and then it's lottery ticket time after that.
I've heard really negative things out of camp of the Commanders' interior offensive line and their O-line in general because of the Tunsil injury. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with my guy here, who I considered the previous round, Kyle Monongai. The hyperextended knee he suffered at practice is kind of making me a little bit, wary. But I think if we're talking lottery tickets between Tootin, Corum, and Monongai, one of those guys to really break out this year, I think the odds are likely that between those three, one will have a great season. So I kind of like that strategy I'm going with here.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on Monongai, honestly. If I needed a running back really bad and Tony Pollard wasn't sitting there, Monongai would have been my next choice because I think even if Swift is healthy the whole season and Monongai gets to the point where he's healthy, he has the opportunity to score a bunch of touchdowns. I do believe in the Bears offense.
Exactly.
However, if I'm jumping in on the Bears offense and I went Luther Burden and Monongai, I feel like that is like the most amorphous version of Bears offense that I could possibly choose.
Yeah. I feel like if you get Colston, Leveland, and Swift, like that's an exciting kind of Bears duo to look at. But Monongai and Burden is kind of like the
Monongai Burden is a little spooky and like Swift.
Nice.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence goes to M. Spinner.
Parker Washington. I love that. I love that stack.
If you believe in Parker Washington, you have to believe in Trevor Lawrence. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because Trevor Lawrence really did ascend once Parker Washington ascended. There's a strong... Oh, okay, so we got the Jordan Mason take. And I don't know if they heard me laughing about Jordan Mason or if this is real. Because there is like this real talk about Jordan Mason being a dude that you want on your team. And for the life of me, I can't figure it out. Okay, so there's a player here that I want because I'm swinging for upside right now, pretty specifically. And there's one player in that I think has a lot of upside here that maybe is being drafted a little late that we've seen flash that upside before, and that is Quentin Johnston.
I like it.
If he can pull it together, and I trust Mike McDaniel's a lot, Quentin Johnston could be a machine.
Is your wide receiver 5 too? I mean, that's pretty nice.
And trust me, I know when I'm looking at my wide receivers, I do recognize that one of them is going to bust. I think a few of them have the opportunity to play better than where I drafted them, but one of them will likely bust. So I do want to have extra wide receivers with potential hanging out.
I'm starting to come around on my team a little bit. I did not like it by round 5, but I do really like my receivers. I think all of them have, top 10 upside. Not saying they're all going to get there, but like they all have that like volume like targets. I think McConkey and McMillan, if they're playing the slot this year, like they could really go off for just a lot of catches. Um, and all of them, I think, could very well be the wide receiver 1 on good to great offenses.
Sorry, my kids were trying to listen to speakers out there, and they thought my phone was paired to them, so we were having an issue. Okay, so Jordan Addison, Matthew Golden go, and then Tyler Algier.
I like it.
Yeah, Gomtabu is living in the church of youth.
Surely, yeah. I think Algier might be the oldest person on their team besides Justin Herbert.
I don't hate it. I really don't.
I think with again the Cardinals as a team notwithstanding, I think that with this Love ankle sprain, high ankle sprain maybe, and then James Conner just being old and injured often, and Trey Benson being released, there is a world where Conner and Love miss some time, and Algier just like gets a touchdown every single week and goes off for like 70 yards a week. I think I'm not banking on that, but there's a path for him as a really good handcuff.
Let's see. I have some debating to do here.
Like,
so tight end would be good, but I don't really need that. Those don't exist. I know I need it. I know, but like, who else really needs a tight end at this point? No one.
Here's
so
the thing, though: is Max is going to pick. He's got 2 opportunities to pick a tight end before you do.
Yeah, but I'm pretty willing to like ugly bet or ugly punt. Like it can get nasty. That's fine. So I'm gonna go for another upside wide receiver here, and I'm going with DeJuan Stribling.
Nice.
Because like I said, in these late rounds, I'm gonna guess 80% of my team will be churned and burned.
That's great confidence.
I'm just gonna get rid of almost all of them will be off my team by the end of the season. So what I want is that that what do you call it in I'm trying to think of Pokemon cards, okay? Like the mythical hits, the mythical pulls or whatever, where you like get that awesome card and everything else is just fodder. You just give it away for free.
So yeah, I don't like that. Give some advice here.
The cat's getting in on it. That's good. I know at least one person is watching this with a cat right up next to the TV, and that cat is probably going wild right now. And I love that. I really do love that.
She's also going wild, so she's good. If she was a player, I think if she was a player, she'd be probably Laramie Tunsil, maybe. I don't know. She gives me that vibe.
The gas mask bonked vibe.
It's big old head.
It's a good vibe. It's a good vibe.
Beefy and mean.
I'm about to be drafted. Real quick, let me hit that.
All right.
Casey Concepcion went. Josh Downs went. Josh Downs is dealing with some injury right now. Not shocking, especially if it is Josh Downs. But
yeah,
I do like it that Trent had just said to M Spinner, he said you have the all injury team, and then he took Joshua Downs immediately afterwards. So
it's hard. I think Downs, like, he's one of those guys that you're like, this could be his year. He's kind of like Jameson Williams light, but I've been kind of back and forth. But I think the Keenan Allen signing doesn't really hurt Josh Downs. I think he still has a path to be wide receiver 1 on this team, and kind of play in a way that like could surprise us.
Oh, we got an auto pick.
Speaking of former Colts, we got Michael Pittman going next. I don't hate that value in this round. It's my turn here. I think I might be off spamming running back. I feel okay with my 4 guys. Um, there's no like receivers that are really standing out to me though.
You're not feeling some Debo Samuel love in your life?
No,
Rashid Shaheed?
no.
Jalen Coker?
I was looking at Coker. I think I'm going to take a risky pick here.
Oh, okay.
And this is somebody that was awesome last year, really came out of nowhere. He's got the same offensive coordinator on a new team. And I think he's going to have some bust weeks, but I think he's going to have some really big boom weeks. I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I almost went with Wan'Dale in the last round. It was close. Yeah.
In the 10th round for the guy that was wide receiver 10 last year,
Mm-hmm.
and the same OC with, no clear one outside of Carnell Pate in the receiving room. I think he has the potential to get some like huge like games this year that could just win me a week.
This is a foreshadowing to one of my dark horse picks, is that I think Wan'Dale might actually be a wide receiver 1 again. He has the keys to Cam Ward's house.
That's right. He's been hanging out. Like they've built a lot, like a close friendship. Apparently,
we laughed at Cooper Kupp getting breakfast with Matt Stafford, and then he became a Triple Crown winner out of nowhere, right? And so Wan'Dale Robinson has the keys to Cam Ward's house. And what do we think? Nothing. We don't talk about it at all because you know what? Wan'Dale, not the coolest dude. I mean, I guess I don't know the dude. I shouldn't say that, but he's not the most exciting guy in fantasy, and he's on a team that almost no one wants to even think about it. The Titans are, they have a movie called Remember the Titans because no one can remember the Titans.
how old is Wan'Dale Robinson? Wan'Dale Robinson is only 25 years old.
25, younger.
Yeah, spring chicken.
So Brian Robinson.
I did almost take Chris Rodriguez there. I didn't. The Tootin Rodriguez handcuff was kind of tempting to me there, but I do like his value a lot in the 10th. I've come around on him a bit.
The handcuff thing is an interesting strategy because on one hand, I do understand that not having your handcuff means that you have more potential value in your league or on your team, right? Because then if some other running back gets hurt, you suddenly have the running back that's starting over there, and you have a running back that's starting over here. However, also, if you're taking someone who has potential injury risk or is in a really good offense, and that's the reason you're drafting them is because they're in a really good offense, the handcuff makes a lot of sense because you just want that offense no matter what. You want to lock up that piece of that offense.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard though I think that Tootin will be the one there, but like I think the handcuff logic with Tootin and Rodriguez is still that like they could be closer than you think, like closer to the Ramondre Henderson role. And I think like if you take like Bijan and then getting Brian Robinson, I think that handcuff logic is really smart. It gets a little bit trickier when it's like potential 1A 1B situation, and it's like who do I start on a weekly basis? Do I start both? I mean, maybe if you're like playing the Bears run defense, yes, but it's not something you can do every week.
All right, so let's see what we got. We are in round 11. We have until round 13, so we're going a little deep on this mock draft here. If you are with us, you can see the teams on the board if you're listening. Yeah, there's just too many names. I can't name them all. Early contenders for best team for me are Gomtabu. So he has Amarian Hampton, Chase Brown, Colston Loveland, Igbuka, Carnell Tate, Brian Thomas, J.K. Dobbins, Herbert, Matthew Golden, and Tyler Algier. Which it does fall off a little bit. I like MB, Puka Nacua, Brock Bowers, Nico Collins, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Christian Watson, Jaden Daniels, Jacoby Myers, Kelsey, Debo, and Ja'Cory. That's
kind of falls off a bit there for me, but I like the start quite a bit. First 8 picks.
Debo's an enigma to me because Debo's a player that I think we could all be wrong about. I think that maybe he still has something and he just went over to the Commanders with Marcus Mariota and it didn't show out. And if he goes back to San Francisco and it's like, look, I'm still playing. I still got this.
And there's that potential there, but it's not. It's risky.
It is risky. I agree. Yeah. 100%. Are there any other teams that don't have tight ends? Yes, there are. M Spinner doesn't have a tight end. JA17 Dubs does not have a tight end. We have reached the part in the draft where we are losing people. This is what happens whenever you do a mock draft, by the way, with people is once you get past round 6, you lose people. That's just life.
I am looking at Jalen Coker here, but I don't really want him and McMillan, so I'm going to go with. I'm going to reach a little bit. I'm going to take a risk here. You might not like this, Nick, but I'm gonna pull trigger. It's Mike Washington. I think that in a world where Genty is actually very injured and he misses a lot of time, Washington isn't going to turn into his bell cow. Like he's not going to be the guy. But I do think that he could at very least be a 1C to a healthy Genty in the regular season, vulturing some rushing touchdowns. And he had a great preseason. And I think in this situation here that like if Genty is injured, I think they still bring in other guys. But I think as my RB5, there's that upside play for me here with Washington that I like.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But that's good for you. On earnestly, it is because this is where I would have taken Mike Washington. So
yeah, and you got a couple tight ends off the board in Goddard and Mark Andrews.
Yeah, but they're old. I'm more worried about the Isaiah Likely coming off the board, but still, at this point, what I'm looking at is round 13 will be the round I take a tight end. Because what's the purpose otherwise, right? There is something to be said about completely and nastily punting tight end because sometimes it just stops mattering. If the names on the board are that bad, there's really no reason to take names off the board.
The gap between tight end 7 and tight end 17 isn't that.
And there's usually a tight end that goes undrafted that ends up in the top 5. That is a real thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take Jalen Coker.
Nice.
I'm wide receiver heavy.
You are
heavy. But you know what that means is that I think what I'm doing here is I will have 4 wide receivers I'll be starting all year.
Okay.
And that is my 2 starting wide receivers and my 2 flexes. They will be wide receivers as well. And that's okay. If you can find the right wide receivers, they still score points like the rest of them.
Gadsden goes. Okay. I'm liking Jersey Boys draft. I hate the Joe Burrow pick. I think that's insane. But apart from that, the last 4 receivers Corey took they do not have a lot of upside, but they are. Oh, they're wide receiver too. Okay, maybe I don't like his team very much. Love the running backs though.
Michael Wilson is interesting to me. I am still interested in Michael Wilson because I do want to see what version of Michael Wilson we get.
I like Trey Tucker there. Hey, I guess you might have heard this if you've been following Raiders news, but apparently, so we talked in an episode recently about who could be the breakout receiver, and Jalen Naylor had a really good game this preseason. He was playing at the starters. Trey Tucker did not play in the preseason. He was the only receiver not to. He rested, and I think that's a little interesting. It was nothing to do with injury. He just was the only receiver that rested.
I think we talked about these 2 guys, and one of the things we talked about was Trey Tucker versus Jalen Naylor just briefly. And this was in our sleeper picks episode. And I was talking about Trey Tucker, and you were talking about Jalen Naylor. And where I landed with Trey Tucker is just that I think that he's way more skilled than we know because he's played with some just garbage. He has been with the Raiders during full-on garbage time.
Yeah.
And maybe he's just better than we think he is.
I mean, he had those games, and again, he was boomer bust, but he had those games where he was just an absolute monster. Like he looked like one of the best receivers in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I think there was that 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think he had 2 receiving and 1 rushing last year at some point. It was just nasty.
Okay, this is purely hope that someone else in front of him doesn't play as much. And I'm taking Marshawn Lloyd because I think there's a chance that Josh Jacobs has some issues this year.
I like it. I was between him and Mike Washington, actually. Mm-hmm. I think that Lloyd's biggest detriment so far, besides playing behind the clear one in Jacobs, has been health. And he's apparently healthy now. And they didn't sign anybody, didn't draft anybody. All right.
Yeah, that part goes quick. So we had Chig, Jared Goff, and Xavier Worthy go. So
I probably would have taken a Chig there if he was still available. Looking at the tight ends, there are some that I like here.
You don't need
And there
another
might be
tight
enough
end.
that I like here, but I don't feel confident in getting my next up tight end next go around. Um, no clear favorites for running backs. I'm looking maybe at Woody Marks.
Woody Marks does have a path because he could still be the pass catcher running back in Houston. I've seen reports that they think it's going to be closer to 50-50 than people think with David Montgomery and Woody Marks. I do believe personally that David Montgomery will be better than Woody Marks, so he'll show out and get more work. But if Woody Marks ends up catching a lot of passes, that's good anyway.
I agree. Yeah, I think that I almost did take Woody Marks. I just have enough. I have enough backup running backs on my team already. I actually went with Kenyon Sadiq purely on an upside play, and purely because we just seen a rookie tight end break out every single year, and he's the clearest favorite to do that. And he's a duck.
Yeah, I think all fair reasons. In round 12, it's someone you can move on from. But also, there is a world in which the Jets are even just a little bit better than we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not betting on that world. I wouldn't lay money down in that world, but I do think that there is potential.
Offensively, I think that's a given. I really do. I think that Geno is an upgrade over Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor, and they just have so much young talent that just came in. They still have a great O line. Um, I think their biggest detriment might be Geno continuing to play badly, and then just the coaching there. But they no longer have Nathaniel Hackett, so that's something.
I think Shaheed was a pretty good pick here. Fernando Mendoza is a player that I love. I think Nick's Will Wins is making a bet here.
I like that. Shout out Nicole.
Fernando for fun, and I agree with that. I'm here for that because I would love Fernando to be the guy. I really think that they won't play Fernando.
With one of your last picks, though, like if Kirk struggles or gets injured, and like if one of your last picks taking Fernando, I think is smart because there just is that potential. And she has Drake May, so she's going to be starting Drake May all year. And having a backup quarterback that you maybe won't start, but it still has that strong upside potential, I think is a smart move.
Tyrone Tracy here would have been much more solid if I wasn't so worried about Najee showing up and being promised a big role.
I would have loved that pick a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I was really high on him.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Hunter Henry. If I'm punting tight end and Hunter Henry's my guy, of course, she's not punting tight end. But if I was, could do worse than Hunter Henry.
Yeah, you'll get to see worse than Hunter Henry pretty soon here. Yeah, and then Bo Nix goes. That's great value on Bo Nix, regardless. Yeah. There are still some players on the board that I think you could make a pretty strong argument towards taking here. So I'm not.
I love the Knicks pick after Daniels, just with Daniels' potential injury history and the Commanders, maybe just being bad. That was worse than Hunter Henry.
I would have taken Terrence Ferguson right there too, though. You look. I mean, with the Rams, we already know they love the tight end by committee, but they also score way more tight end points than any other team. So the thing is if that one tight end, if you could ever get consolidation of those points, you would have a potential busted league winner, right? And Terrence Ferguson is projecting, or he's not projecting, but he's playing in preseason as if he has the role locked up. So
I was really high on him. He was a second round pick last year out of Oregon. I was really high on him going into the year. He was pretty boomer bust, but it was pretty much just because of the tight end by committee approach the Rams took, because he did score like 4 or 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. He was involved in some really big plays. I think that tight end room is a nightmare to me, but I do agree. I think that taking tight ends on great offenses is always a safe approach, and I think he's the one I would take for sure. So I guess I don't hate it. With your last pick,
Rashad Wright goes, Todd Gurley goes. So we got the 13th round goof. Which okay, that's fine, whatever.
What if Todd Gurley just sees Aaron Donald and he's like, no, Aaron Donald, if he can do it, I can do it. Maybe there's like some beef between them, and
he's been in an amniotic bath since he quit the league, and now his knees finally regenerated to the point where he can score 28 touchdowns and do absolutely nothing else. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if he could get up to speed, he could probably still beat out that running back room. It's not that it's bad, it's just not necessarily ultra talented, right?
Yeah, it's he can anything modern medicine, anything's possible. Um, okay, so I do like Woody Marks. I would go Woody Marks here. I have so many running backs. I'm gonna go with the upside rookie play with Cyrus Allen of the Chiefs. Had a fantastic preseason. We don't know what's going on for She Rice. We never really do. He doesn't know. So I like that.
Cyrus Allen, yeah, okay. I don't hate it. And then Travis Hunter, TJ Hawkinson go. Uh, man, there's so many tight ends in this round too. What is happening right now? I think I know what's happening.
I know who you're taking.
Okay. I would love, yeah, you probably do. There's quite a few players here that I would like to take over a tight end. That's the fun part. I actually do wish I had punted QB because there's a QB here that I think would still be one of my favorites off the board. And
He's on the same team as your tight end.
yeah. And then I could have taken, a George Kittle or something earlier. But yeah, the tight end I'm going to take is going to be Juwan Johnson. With the Jordan Tyson injury, this at least gives me, I think, some cushion. Juwan Johnson's going to be a guy, and he's going to be involved, and it's going to be okay. And we'll have cushion as a tight end.
Oregon
we have to
legend.
get someone new.
Oregon legend.
Oregon is producing a lot of tight ends right now, then, huh?
They really are. Yeah. I mean, Juwan was quite a few years ago, but like, yeah. I mean, they have, Kenyon Sadiq, Terrence Ferguson, and then another guy in this upcoming draft whose name escapes me. It's a projected first round pick.
Shook went afterwards, and I love that pick, especially
Yep.
if you've got Joe Burrow, because I think there's like more upside with Shook, and that's a free pick in the last pick, of your draft. Then the final pick that goes is Najee Harris. So, I'm going to type to everyone to thank him real quick, and then we can talk about next week.
This draft went really well. I think that there's no clear bad team. There's some teams I don't really like much, like Josh Allen's team, but there's everyone has some upside picks. Um, Everyone has some at least a mix of consistency and risk. My team is not my favorite on the board, but I think I corrected myself as best I could after my just unfortunate start.
So I'll break down. So my team went Justin Jefferson, Ashton Genty, Travis Achan, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Jalen Hurts, Chris Godwin, Tony Pollard, Quentin Johnston, Dejuan Stribling, Jalen Coker, Marshawn Lloyd, and Juwan Johnson. So it started off in what I would call a fairly safe manner, excusing Ashton Genty's injury. And then we went into let's just go for upside. Let's forget about positionality. We'll take a tight end near the end, right?
I like it. I like your team. I think there's and they're all good picks. I don't think any of those are going to be busts. I mean, there's obviously always that risk of injury, but it's a good mix of upside and safe. Um, I love my Jamar. So my receivers: Jamar Chase, Ladd, McMillan, and Wandale Robinson. I love that core right there. I hate. Not only do I hate Devon Achan as my RB1, it's not awful, but I don't like it. Just really, all the other guys, I have so much bust potential with my running backs. I think between Toot and Corum Monungai and Mike Washington, one of those guys could be fantastic. And I'm really banking on my receiving core. Um, and I don't love my team, but it's not the worst.
I don't know that there's different choices I would have made in any of these picks. This feels like how the draft fell for me. The team that I do like the most after looking over all these teams, I do like the Gomp Taboo
Yeah.
team. And that is Omarion Hampton, Chase Brown, Colston Loveland, Ibuka, Tate, Brian Thomas. It gets a little different here. J.K. Dobbins, I'm not huge on, but then Justin Herbert, Matthew Golden, Algier, Trey Tucker, Kyler Murray for upside, Najee Harris. Najee Harris, I don't know if I would draft Najee Harris, but I don't blame you because if the rumors do end up true, you might have some value there. And I do like MB as well. I think MB's got a lot of high upside players. And really, they didn't punt running back because round 4 is not really a zero running back draft, but they did go light running back, and I think it worked out for them getting David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Those are 3 that I think have an opportunity to get a lot of play.
Yeah, if you're punting running back, I think you could do a lot worse than those guys. I think that's a, three guys that really could be in good offenses, at least better offenses, like with Houston and Washington, could be better offenses than last year. Um, I think, yeah, I think those are a couple of my favorite teams. I do like Max's team here. I mean, AJ Brown and Malik Neighbors, I think that those both a little bit risky. Neighbors more than Brown, but there's some upside for both and like high upside for both. Jonathan Taylor, Brees Hall, and then Jalen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, solid flex plays. Same with Rome. I don't really like Parker Washington, but pairing him with Trevor Lawrence and having him as your wide receiver 4 is quite nice. And I think for having waited on tight end, I think between Mark Andrews and T.J. Hawkinson, both those guys could be startable. So I think you and Max both had that kind of punt tight end approach, and I think it worked out well for both of you.
This just reiterates to me that I should punt tight end and QB because there was good options available for both near the end here, And like Jalen Hurts, I do love Jalen Hurts this year, but would I have loved Tyler Shuck just as much? I think I might have. So it's just always one of those things, and it's league dependent because we saw Dak win in the second round, and I could clown on that, but I'm not going to. You know why? Because that's real. Every year that you will find someone has a real player that they want early, and they'll take him. I want to give a shout out to all of the folks that helped us draft. I didn't get the okay to say their names, so I'm not going to say their names out loud. That feels like an invasion of privacy. However, I will say thank you so much. If you watch this and you helped us draft, we appreciate you guys for showing up for us. It's always super nice when people do show up for you.
Yeah, made it more fun and realistic. I also did not get permission, but I want to say shout out Corey, Max, Nicole, Mark, Dawn, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And a few of the people that are drafting. Well, actually, I'm drafting of all these people in the future, but a few of them I will be drafting in a 20-team league with, and that will be very interesting. Never done anything like that.
Okay. I've done when we started. I think I was in an 18-team league. And I'll go ahead and give you this. You do definitely want to specifically avoid injuries because injuries in an 18-team league will kill your team. You will be done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's it. So 20-team, I imagine, is even worse. And also, by the time you're drafting, if you're at the end of the first round, it really feels like the third round, and that's where you're starting.
It basically is, yeah.
And so next week we will be doing our dark horse predictions. So stay with us for that because dark horse predictions are fun, and I have some contrarian picks that I always just feel like some of them hit, and you need to be contrarian sometimes because the community doesn't know as well as they think they do. Everyone is guessing right now. By the end of the year, everyone will be like, well, we were wrong about this guy, and we'll talk about some of those guys that people will say they're going to be wrong about. We'll also have way more news. There's been a ton of news happening, so we ignored it this round so we could get this draft going through, but there will be a lot more news, dark horse predictions. Hang out with us. Season's almost here. Like, this is pretty close to the real thing. We're not very far away at all. September's next week.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So